That brings us to this Derby City show. The January 12th show. I don't know what's happened. We get DVDs here and there now, it seems. Hopefully we're back on schedule now, because this was a show that aired on Saturday. It was a professional wrestling television show.
Kinda.
The good, the bad, and the ugly, as is always the case when you've got a basically the beginner class doing a television show is what this was. We had a tag team title match. The men who appear to be Iraqis against the Army of Two for the DCW tag team titles. I actually thought this was all right for much of the beginning part of the match. We did have the best line of all time when Kenny Bolin, he does not like the Iraqis, I might add. They are heels. But also, Agent Williams and Agent Johnson are heels as well. But in this match, they were sort of the baby faces. And Bolin said, "I've done a lot of bad things during my managing career, but I have never driven oil up past $100 a barrel." I laughed.
Yes.
Why this man is not on Raw? No idea. Well, I have an idea, but it's a foolish reason. So, anyway, they got behind Williams a bit as the non-Iraqi in peril. Agent Johnson ran wild with body slams and backdrops, and then botchery.
Things fell apart like they have never fallen apart before.
This
And
match,
God willing, will never fall apart like this again.
this match did indeed fall apart. There's no other way to describe it. The referee was distracted. A man was thrown over the top rope, which was a DQ, but there was no ref. And then they put Williams in the camel clutch for the submission. The Insurgency are still the tag team champions. And Agent Williams sold the camel clutch like he had actually had his back broken and his ass perhaps fucked.
And to death. He was camel clutched to death.
Yeah.
The best way I can describe this botchery is just to let you know that at one point there were 2 men per team and the manager and the ref, and all 6 guys were standing around looking at each other. That's a new one. I've never seen that before.
Well,
There were 6 guys. None of them knew what to do. That's a first.
miscommunication.
There was some miscommunication going on.
Things happen.
There was no heat for this, and I thought, well, it's because there's 2 heel teams. Then I realized, no, there's just nobody at this particular show. They mentioned, I think they said it was 8 degrees in Kentucky that day. Bolin didn't even bother getting dressed up.
He was in a sweater.
He's usually out there in his Bolin costume with either a suit or usually a suit with a briefcase. He was wearing a t-shirt and sweater, and he was very low-key throughout the evening. This was a half-assed DCW show.
Jason Static, who was billed as the best body in the business, or so the ladies say, faced Dre Blitz, who does more flips than Teddy Hart. I know some of you don't believe that's possible. It is true. He just randomly did flips.
With significantly less talent.
They had, sadly, a poor match. It just didn't work. And there was no heat. And then Static beat him with a wacky lucha submission.
This match was so boring, the announcers began to discuss W's. I don't mean wins. I mean the letter W and its use and connotation.
Yes. Girls came out, got in an argument. One of them, I believe Reggie, said, they got in an argument as they were talking about their hair, and Reggie goes, "You want to fight me?" And cheerleader Jill said, and I quote, "Yeah, sure." Match was signed for later.
Well, I'm glad you could hear it because these girls stood about 3 feet apart with a microphone in the middle and low, and you could barely pick out what they were saying. So
Yeah.
they need work on that. Fortunately, Bolin was there to explain the ramifications. There would be a match later. Fine.
They recapped the attack of Anthony Bravado, which I actually didn't get that DVD, but apparently it included, seriously, the first ever foreign object in Derby City history.
Now, here's why they mentioned it, and here's why we mentioned them mentioning it. They told us they were not allowed to show this footage on television. It was too graphic. However, the only way to see it was to go to their website and order the DVD.
Indeed.
Yes. Their hook for the DVD is the first use of a foreign object in DCW history.
Awesome.
That is fantastic.
So we had Sonic Fang against Rudy and Raul. Sonic Fang is Sonic and Fang. They've just put their names together. That's their team name. That would be like me and Vinny wrestling as Brian Vinny.
I wrote down a list of great teams in history and what their names would be if they went this pattern. You'd have the tag team champions would be the Cody Bob. The former champions of SmackDown would be the Montel Matt. You'd have the Tully Arn, the Dennis Bobby, and my favorite, the Hollywood Blondes, would be the Brian Steve.
Well, what can you do? So they had I thought this was all right. Sonic and Fang. Fang is a very small man. Like, he may be down to 120 pounds now, for all I know.
He may be losing, but yes.
He is thrown around. He is beaten unmercifully. He takes a fabulous whooping. And the bad guys threw him all over the place, suplexed him hither and thither. And then
good one.
Sonic made it come back with arm ringers.
Yeah.
And anyway, in the what have you, it ended with the bad guys hitting them with a bunch of moves and pinning them. This was one long, like 12-minute squash
As
match.
it turned out, that was all it was. Yes.
Yeah.
And the deal was, Bravado was a ringside with the Sonic Fang, but he was barred from touching the Mexicans, and the Mexicans were barred from touching him.
Yeah.
So if anyone made contact, they'd be suspended. So the Mexicans were trying to get him to fight them, and he'd raise his fist and then stop himself. And at the end, they squashed these guys for 12 minutes and then kept beating them up. And Bravado jumped in the ring, but he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
He just had to stand there and watch them beat up his two small friends. So
Bolin, when announcing the stipulations, noted that if the Mexicans touched Bravado, there would be, quote, no more Mexicans in Derby City.
yes.
So thank God they didn't, or I'd never wrestle there again. We had JTG giving Dre Blitz a pep talk. Apparently he will now be Soul Cat Dre Blitz,
Yes.
as opposed to the Jaguar.
JTG said, "You're not the Jaguar, you're a Thundercat. No, you're a Soul Cat." And Dre Blitz wasn't sure, but JTG convinced him. And they tried to do a black man's handshake, and Dre Blitz failed. JTG coached him through it, and he's the Soul Cat now.
That's right. And Dre Blitz is, in fact, a black fellow as well, so
Yeah.
that adds to the story. Reggie and Jill, the cheerleader, these girls were not bad at all. And for those of you that have seen this program, you will find it impossible to believe, but Jill, the cheerleader, is like 40-something years old and a mother of 4. It is unbelievable. It's impossible.
Most 40-year-old mothers of 4 don't look like her.
No, they don't. So, yeah,
Perhaps none.
this was fine. And then Sergio ran out and hit both girls with his sunset flip.
I'm afraid that was the best part. When he ran out, first he ran out and he hit Reggie. She had been defeated, and so she was, easy target. So he sunset flipped her, celebrated. Then he had to face off against Jill. Now, Jill saw him coming and was ready. So I think he said, "Your shoe's untied."
Yeah.
And she bent over to check, and this left her an open prey for the sunset flip. So he hit that, and he was happy. And then Sweet Stevie was also the referee. He is eagerly anticipating the sunset flip so he could put his groin into the man's face, but Sergio was having none of this.
Yes.
No flip for Stevie. During this match, Kenny Bolin, who I mentioned earlier was, not on the ball tonight so much, he made the lewdest comment I think I've ever heard on a wrestling show. I don't know if it involved 8 men and Reggie's hair. That's all I can say.
I don't recall this.
Okay, I'll tell the whole thing now. Reggie's the girl who said she got a new haircut. They were talking about how proud she was of her hair. And Bowman said, "Yeah, I saw her at a club. She was showing off her haircut to all the guys." And Twinkle Toes said, "Well, she told me she was washing her hair." His joke being, of course, that she lied to him and would not go out with him. Bowman said, "Well, she may have washed it later after those 8 guys got done with her."
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny Bolin.
Tonight, Kenny Bolin did not give a fuck.
Ted McNaylor versus JTG. Ted is still calling everyone Chico. Bolin had another lewd comment here. I don't even know if it was actually lewd or if it just was a poor choice of words, but he said, "If Chico had been on your ass for an hour, you'd be thinking of him in your sleep as well." Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
What happened at DCW while we were gone?
So JTG
Were they
ran...
drunk for the show? Was this after the Christmas party?
I don't know. Adam Revolver clipped JTG's leg and got ejected. Man Beast beat him up, and then JTG made a comeback, get his finisher for the clean pin. It was sort of touch and go here for a little while.
Yeah, I love JTG. I love Ted McNaylor. They were not on the same page here.
Yeah. And then the rest of the mobile homers ran out and attacked JTG, and Dre Blitz made the save, but then he was overwhelmed and ended with a 3-on-2 beating. Show went off the air, and I guess we'll get the handicap match next week, or maybe a mystery 6th person will debut, because the show opened with the Totally Awesome duo doing a song, and apparently there was a man banging his head on the locker saying, "He's coming to DCW." So we don't know who that is.
And then Cody Carnage poked his head in at a funny angle and said, "What a weirdo."
Yeah.
That was a good skit. This was not my favorite DCW episode ever, but still much better than, for example, 98% of All Impacts.
Every Impact. Let's play a song.